And now I've got the case of an inequality with an absolute value. Well, as a first step, what you can do is take x minus 3 and sandwich it between a positive 1 and a negative 1. But why? Let's take a look at this. With this idea over here, it's easy enough to do, and in fact we're nearly done, but why does this work? Well, the job of an absolute value, like for example the absolute value of -5, the job of the absolute value is to get rid of the negative. So the absolute value of -5 is 5. With a positive number, it then gives you the same result. There was no negative to get rid of. So basically with absolute value, there's two cases. It could be the case with a negative or the case with a positive. So we can look at this in the same way. We've got x minus 3 less than 1. There's the positive case. We've got the negative case. Negative of that thing, we still need it less than 1. Well, in this one, we could multiply both sides by a -1. It would result in this being just x minus 3. Multiplying by a negative is going to switch the direction of the inequality, and we need to multiply this side by -1. Now, let's take this thing right here and just write it in the other direction. -1 is less than, so the arrow needs to be pointing to the -1. I've got the arrow pointing to the -1, and then it's x minus 3. Well, if you take that idea together with this case, you have this. So you've got the positive case and the negative case, but all wrapped up in one step. Now, to solve for x, we need to add 3, but we're going to need to add 3 to all three places. So we've got x is sandwiched between a 4 and over here a positive 2. And the last thing to do is put it in interval notation. So with the x being between those two numbers, we're talking about the numbers from 2 to 4. And since there is no equals on these, we use round parentheses to say the x can get as close as it wants to a 4, but never actually equal to it. And now, use the graphing calculator to verify that we got it right. In order to graph absolute value, I need to use the calculator's abbreviation for that. So go to the y equals first of all, and then right here under math, move over one to numbers, and the first one, ABS, stands for absolute value. So graph the original problem, the absolute value of x minus 3, and then I want to know when is that less than or less than 1. And then zoom, standard. So the absolute value function looks like a V, and when is it less than 1? So that's this little region down here. Let me zoom in on that. So zoom in and move the cursor to that region. And then hit enter. So there's the V. And then when is it below 1? That's just in this region right here. So this should be 2 and that should be 4. So trace and put in a 2, that one's right, and a 4, and that one's right. So from 2 to 4 is correct.